Chapter 58 of The Bigger Picture. Some years later. Jill and I continued to work away in Como for quite a few years, and we learnt many things over that time. It was always a pleasure to learn and teach, and we loved nothing better than seeing our students grow as individuals. It was an honour to have been part of their journey. But times were changing, and little did we know then how those changes would affect us all. We started to realise that our business was beginning to dwindle, not because of anything we were doing wrong, but because our competition was growing. A whole host of training providers were springing up online, offering everything that we taught and more. And they had something that we never had: money. They put into place bigger and better systems to deliver online training courses. They attracted students from all over the world, and because of the sheer numbers, they could offer huge discounts. We simply could not compete. With our expenses continuing to rise, but our income declining, we knew we had to do something radical and soon. During one of our afternoon sessions in our beautiful space, Jill suggested that we seriously think about giving up our premises. I was gutted, but it made perfect sense, as we would soon be struggling to pay the rent. We both thought long and hard, but could see no other option. So on a sad day in November, we made the decision to give up our beautiful space. We did agree, though, that Como would continue and that we would just rent space as and when needed. Now our angels, guides, the universe, etc. certainly knew this was the right thing for us to do, and they were helping us all the way. In fact, it was probably their idea in the first place, and we just picked up on the energies they sent us. Within 24 hours of us making the decision, we had 2 new spaces lined up, and they were both a perfect match for what we did, and our holistic and beauty training would be carried on in our tutors' own salons. We also knew that by letting the premises go, we would have to get rid of all the equipment and furniture we had amassed over the years, and sat for ages pondering over who on earth would want our huge gong. We needn't have worried at all, because in a few short weeks we managed to sell most of the contents we no longer needed, and the rest we gave to charity. Things were looking up, although it was a very, very tearful day when just before Christmas we shut the door for the final time and handed back the keys. In January 2020, we started working out of the rented premises. No, it wasn't quite the same. Both Jill and I missed our own space. But financially we had no choice, so we just had to be grateful for the time we had there and move forward. Little did we know that that time was just around the corner. COVID struck the world, and it was a very frightening time for everyone. We held our regular workshops in March 2020, but agreed at the end of the session we would take a couple of months' break until the whole thing blew over. We didn't know then that that was to be our last time together in the same space, as a week later we were in our first lockdown. We continued for a while via Zoom, and we were all optimistic that it would only be for a few months before we could get back together. Sadly, that never happened. Lockdown finally ended and we could work in groups again. Salons and training establishments could reopen, and we started advertising our courses. We plodded on for the rest of the year, but the lockdown had impacted on the nation in a variety of different ways, and many people had lost their jobs or were living on reduced incomes. There was no extra money and no income for us. Like many, we couldn't sustain our business, so sadly we were forced to close in 2021.